This time, I would like to call the regular meeting to order. Clerk of the board, please call roll.
Arencibia?
Present.
Emerald? Here. Lopez Zepeda?
Here.
Solis?
Present.
Aguirre?
Here.
Mr. Lopez is absent.
This is the point on the agenda where members of the public may address the board on matters posted for special meeting, and in accordance with Government Code Section 54954.3, Section A, the board will provide the opportunity for members of the public to directly address the legislative body concerning any item that has been described in the notice for the meeting before or during consideration of that item. Each person wishing to address an item on the meeting notice in closed session will have 2 minutes to do so.
There are no speakers.
If there is no communication, I will recess the meeting for the consideration of the following closed session items as posted on the meeting notice. 1, student expulsion, suspended expulsions, reinstatements. Excuse me. Education Code Section 48916-48918, students identified by case and ID number. 2, public employee discipline dismissal release, Government Code Section 54957. 3, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, paragraph 1 of subdivision D of Government Code Section 54956.9. 4, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, paragraph 2 of subdivision D of Government Code Section 54956.9. 5, conference with labor negotiator, Government Code Section 54957.6. We will now adjourn to closed session. This time, I would like to reconvene the regular board meeting. Clerk of the board, please call the roll.
Arencibia? Emerald?
Here.
Lopez?
Here.
Lopez Zepeda?
Here.
Solis?
Present.
Aguirre?
Here.
Flores?
Here.
Okay, we will now hold a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance led by our board member, student board member, Ms. Flores. And if you could please keep in mind Mr. Mike Mejia, firefighter from National City that passed away last week, and his family.
Right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The board met in closed session, preceding this meeting to discuss the following issues: student expulsions, suspended expulsions, reinstatements, Education Code Section 48916-48918, students identified by case and ID number. 2, public employee discipline dismissal release, Government Code Section 54957. 3, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, paragraph 1 of subdivision D of Government Code Section 54956.9. 4, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, paragraph 2 of subdivision D of Government Code Section 54956.9. 5, conference with labor negotiator, Government Code Section 54957.6. The board took the following action. Moved by Lopez Zepeda, seconded by Emerald, to approve the reinstatement of one student with a vote of Arencibia yes, Emerald yes, Lopez absent, Lopez Zepeda yes, Solis yes. Moved by Lopez Zepeda, seconded by Arencibia, to approve the release and reassignment of 2 certificated administrators employed in the position of assistant principal to a certified position within the scope of their credentials pursuant to the Education Code Section 44951, effective at the end of the 2025-2026 school year, and direct the superintendent or designee to send out the appropriate legal notices. With a vote, Arencibia yes, Emerald yes, Lopez absent, Lopez Zepeda yes, Solis yes. Moved by Arencibia, seconded by Emerald, to approve the release and reassignment of 2 certificated administrators employed in the position of principal to a certificated administrative position within the scope of their credentials pursuant to Education Code Section 44951, effective at the end of the 2025-2026 school year, and direct the superintendent or designee to send out the appropriate legal notices. With a vote of Arencibia yes, Emerald yes, Lopez absent, Lopez Zepeda yes, Solis yes. This time, I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda for the February 9th, 2026 regular board meeting. Do I have a motion?
Second.
Motion and a second.
Flores?
Yes.
Arencibia? Emerald?
Yes.
Lopez?
Yes.
Lopez Zepeda?
Yes.
Solis?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, the board is pleased to welcome Chula Vista Middle School Principal Ulises Hernandez, who has a presentation for the board.
Good evening. Good evening, board members and Dr. Aguirre. So we are presenting our guitar students. This is our advanced guitar, and our choir are going to be performing a piece today. And then I'm going to make an announcement, so something wonderful happening next year, right after the performance. So that's an example of what we do at Chula Vista Middle School. We're looking forward to next year starting a mariachi. And our teacher is going to be Victor Vivero, who does the choir and guitar. So he's the one who led these students. Not to mention, he didn't know I was going to say this, but he's also teaching at San Diego State, a mariachi up there. So he's multi-talented. So yes. Now, students here, how many of you are doing mariachi next year? There's going to be our first mariachi, so we have some 7th graders that are going to do it next year. So we're looking forward to a great next year and building visual and performing arts. They all performed this past Friday, at our school for the Future Cavalier Night. And man, they did it. The energy there, the confidence that they had, that's what we want to continue on at Chula Vista and just grow the VAPA program. So thank you for having us. Thank you.
You want to pick?
Well, thank you all for coming. That was fantastic. I think some of you guys should join the Gypsy Kings. I was impressed. I only heard one guitar, but all of you guys were playing. That was in sync. It was really, really nice. Thank you. Any comments from the board? Ms. Lopez.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Lopez, who? The Who event?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, wonderful, wonderful. I'm always happy to see and enjoy all of the wonderful talent that our schools and our students have. It's wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? I appreciate it.
I'll go.
Superintendent?
Thank you. To kind of echo the sentiment, it's a really nice way to center our meetings with all the chaos going on, in different places. It's really nice to have us centered around why we do what we do, which is to support our students. So thank you to Chula Vista Middle.
Thank you very much. Okay, we will now have a message from Superintendent Dr. Moises Aguirre.
Thank you, President Solis. Good evening and buenas tardes to everybody. Welcome and bienvenidos to our February 9th, 2026 meeting of the Board of Education. First, I'd like to begin this update by issuing a clarification regarding a topic that's been top of mind for many across the district in this last week or so. And this is regarding the guidance that I issued regarding the matter of student protests and student voice. Since I received concerns on both sides of the aisle and philosophical spectrum, I believe some clarification is probably in order. First, I'd like to address those who believe the guidance curtails student voice and self-expression. The guidance and protocol does not seek to curtail expression. Rather, it indicates that schools will work with student leaders to identify appropriate spaces on campus. This is in alignment with state requirements that include that students be allowed 1 instance of excused absence per year. We indicated that if students want to exercise this, then there needs to be prior notification, and we ask that students go directly to their protest if that is what they will be doing off-site, rather than going to the school and then leaving. The reason for doing this is that we have a difficult time with significant numbers of students leaving campus at any one time. Again, there is not a limit on expression, rather there are parameters to ensure safety. Secondly, I'd like to address those who were concerned about a perception of bias. While students are making their voices heard regarding the issue of federal immigration enforcement, the guidance holds true regardless of the subject matter. To insinuate otherwise is to somewhat project your own biases and prejudices. These protests could have just as easily been about the environment, taxes, or any other topic. The goal here is to ensure that the safety of students expressing themselves and not the subject matter. With that clarification out of the way, I'll now get to more mundane updates and activities of all the district events. First, I want to mention the Rise Black Scholars Conference celebrating Black History Month took place at Southwest Community College. It was a great partnership and a great way to celebrate our African-American students, African-American staff. It was truly an incredible event with a great energy that was present. Thank you to the group of Black elders and to everyone who helped to make that happen. We had the district's credit rating on the Issuer Default Rating, IDR, was upgraded from an A rating to an A+ rating, and the underlying stated rating was reaffirmed to AAA, which means stability, and this was done by Fitch. I also had an opportunity to attend a great event kicking off the YMCA annual fundraiser event, where we saw a good number of educators there. I also had an opportunity to attend the district-wide counselor in-service to honor National School Counselor Month, with a special shout-out to Ms. Christy Araki for Counselor of the Year. Congratulations to Ms. Araki. Also, a team of district leaders and board members attended a tour of the new VIBA Resource Center right here in Chula Vista, and it will be accessible to all of our employees. I want to say thank you to VIBA for being such a great partner and opening this resource center, which will include a wide array of services, including culinary classes, acupuncture, and other health and wellness opportunities. And with that, that concludes my update. Gracias por la oportunidad de servir.
Thank you, Superintendent Aguirre. And now we will have a message from Ms. Elizabeth Flores, our Student Board Representative.
Thank you, President Solis. Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone is well and enjoyed their Super Bowl weekend. Going into Black History Month, our students have been embracing their cultures and showing their spirit by participating in our district-wide BSU Spirit Week. In addition, at my home school, Otay Ranch, our Black Student Union hosts a school-wide BSU assembly on the last day of February. Otay's BSU is the only BSU in our district that hosts a school-wide Black History Month assembly. Through events such as the RISE Conference, Officer Training Days, and others, ORHS BSU has been sharing ideas with other schools in hopes that a Black History Month assembly can become apparent within every school in our district. I want to emphasize the importance of these district events that allow our BSU and other students, our BSUs and other students to connect, learn from each other, and ultimately improve their cultural clubs on campus. I would also like to address how important it is for our students to feel comfortable in embracing their heritage and cultures, especially in these times of uncertainty for many. Recently, several students on our district's campuses have been participants in a national walkout to protest current government policies, myself included. I appreciate how our district, principals, and superintendent have handled these situations, as they are very delicate circumstances. While emphasizing that our priority is always student safety, it is also extremely important that we do not silence student voices. Although protest was not encouraged, our schools notified us students that it was acceptable, as well as even admirable if done in a safe, conscious manner. I am proud to see my peers stand for what we believe in. Sometimes our passion and advocacy can be mistaken for anger or a naivete. But we are the future of not only this country, but the world, and I am the biggest believer that we must be the change that we want to see. It is important that we encourage our students to use their voices, whether through leadership such as ASB, cultural clubs such as MECHA or BSU, Women Empowerment Club, Environmental Club, etc. Advocacy in any way, silent or loud, is so important in crafting a better future for not only ourselves, but for the generations to come. That's all for my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Flores. This is the point on the agenda where members of the public may address the board on any matter not on the agenda and have 3 minutes each to do so. Pursuant to board bylaw, the board may limit the time for public comment on any single topic to 20 minutes per topic. The Board of Trustees cannot legally take action on or respond to matters not posted on the public agenda, but will refer the matter to the superintendent's office for review and report. Speakers shall refrain from using profanity and shall speak in a respectful manner. Thank you for your cooperation.
The first speaker is Kathleen Shears.
As you know, I am a Sweetwater graduate. My children, 8 of the 9, and my eldest 2 grandchildren, also graduates. Today, a very proud day for me, as my grandson began his teaching career in another district, teaching 11th grade English. Travis attended Rancho. Tom Rodrigo, his principal, TJ, as we call him, many times describing Mr. Rodrigo, is a no-nonsense kind of old guy. Funny thing is, Rodrigo wasn't old then. I used to pick him up after school, and I remember the day he shared he had the most beautiful PE teacher, only to find out it was Lee Romero's wife. He then transferred to Benita Vista High under the excellent leadership of Bettina Batista. Benita Vista High, chosen by his parents because of TJ's high intelligence. TJ would often speak of a Mr. Eric Helly. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. His English teacher, Mr. Helly, demanding in an inspiring way excellence from his students. My grandson was motivated and driven by Mr. Helly to do his best always. That inspiration will undoubtedly be cloned as a bar for TJ to reach as a teacher. Ms. Ronnie Pietla, now AP, another name who helped TJ become the young man he is today. I remember once at a Saturday youth basketball game, him pointing to a man who had come down out of the stands, taken a couple minutes to give him some play tips. He didn't know the man, I did, Alex Estrada, the then boys Eastlake basketball coach. Don Dumas, TJ's high school teacher and coach. A man who speaks inspiration. It wasn't all about the game, it was who Mr. Dumas wanted his players to become as men. Coming full circle into adulthood after San Diego State, once again it was the Sweetwater District playing a role in TJ's career choice. Subbing, then long-term subbing for Principal Akala, yet another mentor at Chula High, where a few of the teachers took this college graduate under their wing and offered advice and guidance. I've shared this for twofold reasons. Don't let me get emotional. The obvious, I am proud. He is now a second-generation Sweetwater educator, inspired by a mother who is herself a premier sped whisperer teacher, and a father who is one of the finest men I know, who is also a district employee as a custodian. TJ fortunately inherited his father's demeanor versus the cheers women he has long been surrounded by. Second, and most importantly, to thank the district and communicate to all of the hardworking teachers, administrators, counselors, and librarians, coaches out there, that they are making a difference in these young lives they encounter each and every day. Please never forget that, even on the days when you question, what was I thinking when I chose this career? Remember, there are many Travises out there who have gone on to use the tools you shared and the mentoring you inspired them with. Thank all of you again.
Elizabeth Luensing Garcia.
Good evening, President Solis, trustees, Superintendent Aguirre, and colleagues. I'm Elizabeth Luensing Garcia, President of the Sweetwater Counseling and Guidance Association. Tonight, I'd like to continue with my intentions to present 3-2-1, 3 celebrations, 2 areas that need attention, and 1 compliment. Our 3 celebrations, like Dr. Aguirre mentioned, congratulations to Christina Rocky, counselor at Launch Virtual Academy, for being named SCGA School Counselor of the Year. Ms. Araki amplifies student success every single day, especially in the virtual space. Second, congratulations to Maria Esther Lizarraga, who recently received SCGA's Amigo Award that recognizes counselor advocates outside of our unit who have demonstrated collaboration and support of school counselors and their programming. Thank you to Ms. Lizarraga for being a champion of our work, and we wish you the best in your retirement. Third, thank you to all of our colleagues for the wonderful sentiments and acts of kindness shown to our school counselors last week for National School Counseling Week. We're grateful to collaborate with colleagues who value, appreciate, and amplify our contributions every day. Now for our 2 areas that need attention. First, SCGA is still engaged in conversations about counselor lack of access to our district's resource assignments. School counselors hold a California Pupil Personnel Services, PPS, credential requiring specialized training in counseling, crisis response, multi-tiered systems of support, and attendance intervention. A counselor with a PPS is prepared for comprehensive student support services for the resource assignments, including but not limited to attendance coordinator, MTSS, and restorative practices coordinators. Second, the district's mid-year LCAP report, to be presented later on this evening, references a 400-to-1 counselor to student ratio. Our collective bargaining agreement establishes a 360 caseload. The American School Counseling Association recommends a caseload of 250-to-1. It is our hope that the future LCAP is mindful of counselor caseloads. Smaller caseloads create a space for individualized attention, time to know each student's story, monitor progress closely, and build authentic relationships that strengthen belonging and success. And lastly, my compliment, I'd like to give a shout out to Palomar High School counselors, Mr. Bautista and Mr. Tran, who I had the pleasure of spending some time with at a recent site visit. They shared the foundation of the success of Palomar High is their ability to make personal, individual, and meaningful connections with students on a daily basis. The small setting at Palomar and their smaller counselor caseload helps students succeed, feel supported, valued, and heard. And that's my 3, 2, 1 for the month of February. Thank you very much.
The next 6 speakers are all addressing the issue of librarians. Lucy Ugarte.
Good evening, President Solis, trustees, Dr. Aguirre. Lucy Ugarte, President, Sweetwater Education Association. Today I was working on the updated FTE and ratio allocations based on the CalPADS data. And I want to thank Dr. Salkeld and all the staff involved in continuously working on our enrollment data in relation to the budget so that we have as little movement as possible in July and August. I also appreciate that Dr. Aguirre and you, the board, understand that enrollment data is what drives the need for credentialed teachers in the classroom. Which brings me to what I would like all of you to research in your role as trustees. SEA works closely with CTA and keeping an eye on the governor's proposed budget up until it becomes the actual budget. In the proposed budget for 26-27, there are 3 lines in addition to the COLA. Special Ed Base, which is $3.19 million for Sweetwater. SSPD Discretionary, the Student Supports and Professional Development, which is $16,060,000 for SUHSD. And Learning Recovery, which is $4.68 million, totaling $23,930,000 for Sweetwater Union High School District. This is in addition to the proposed 2.4 COLA, but without the $5.6 billion the governor did not include in his proposal, which for SUHSD is about $30,080,000. I mentioned this additional almost $24 million because in all basic communication regarding the governor's budget, it is not mentioned. All we hear is that COLA is going to be funded, and the Prop 98 funds will not. While the ideal is that Prop 98 will ultimately be funded with a little encouragement and perhaps litigation, the reality is that this almost $24 million will be, as it is included in the governor's proposed budget. Please look into whether this proposed money can be used in an appropriate way to support our students and help in making our librarians full-time. At minimum, it could free up money somewhere else in the budget in order to do so. In a time where suppressing knowledge and education seems to be the goal, an act of rebellion and advocacy for our students would be full-time access to libraries. SEA again asks that FTEs be used to make our librarians 1.0 full-time equivalents. Finally, Tuesday, February 17th, before school at every site, we will be welcoming our students again. Please join us. Thank you.
Sylvia McBride.
Good evening, board
can raise-
members, Dr.
You can raise the mic up.
Oh, sorry. President Solis, Superintendent Guerra, Ms. Flores, all other board members. I'm Sylvia McBride. I work at Utai Ranch High School. I'm the teacher librarian there. I'm also a parent of a child who goes to East Lake Middle School. And this is my 20th year working for Sweetwater. I was a teacher for 13 years. 10 years ago, I was district teacher of the year. And then I've been a librarian for 7 years, and I love it. I also want to thank Trustee Ms. Lopez Zepeda, who came and spent time touring the library and learning about the work we do to support our students. She hung out with me for 2 hours. We had great conversations about the library and education and the importance of having teacher librarians in our district. A school library is not just a place for books. It's a learning hub, it's a research center, a technology access point, and often a safe, supportive space for students. When we reduce librarians to part-time roles, we are not just cutting hours, we are cutting student opportunities. We have seen this firsthand when librarian positions were reduced to half-time in 2020. President Solis was the only board member from this group at the time, so I'd like to remind you all what happened. During this time, I worked at Castle Park High School. I was allocated a .4. The workload was overwhelming, from ensuring Williams compliance to managing textbooks, devices, library books, anything teachers or students needed, on top of doing finance reports, and trying to sneak in instruction to encourage literacy, boost levels of literacy at our school. I had to do all of that while teaching classes on top of that. And the results were clear. We had fewer research lessons happening in the library. We had reduced support for struggling readers. We had less access to teachers and students alike. Otay Ranch is one of our biggest high schools, and managing its library part-time would be impossible to do effectively. I already work sometimes through lunch and after school just to keep the library running efficiently. A part-time librarian simply cannot meet the needs of students, collaborate fully with teachers, maintain resources, and provide consistent support to students and staff. Full-time librarians directly support student achievement. They teach research skills, digital literacy, source evaluation, and ethical technology use. Skills students need for college careers and life. At the high school level, these skills are critical as students complete major research projects, prepare for college, and navigate an increasingly complex information world. At my school site, I work heavily with our AP research and seminar students, and if I'm only available to students for half the time, other students will not receive the same access. It's an equity issue. Thank you for your time.
Meg Garcia.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and good evening. I'm Meg Garcia, and I'm a graduate of Sweetwater High School, and I have taught 29 amazing years at Sweetwater. My whole life has been dedicated to this district, as was my mother's as well, Virginia Martinez, those of you who might remember her. I'm here. The librarians are far more eloquent about listing all of the amazing, incredible, and time-consuming things that they accomplish. The thing that I want to come up here and remind you about is what the space of the library is all about. Like, the library is where people go to fall in love with learning. Whatever it is that's out there that speaks to them, whether it's sports or whether it's cooking or whatever it is, a mystery novel or true life, whatever it is. But it's the thing that gets a person interested in learning, that gets them to put their phones down and to look at the world through someone else's eyes. We all had that experience. We all did. We know what the library meant to each one of us. The quiet times, those moments, questioning, wondering what's out there, what things are about. And there was always one place that you could go. Now, in this world of technology and digitalness, you can find that in other, you can look at stuff on the phone and all that kind of, there's a lot more access. I had to go look stuff up in the encyclopedia, right? I get it. But what I see the library now, and at Sweetwater High School, what I see it directly, is it's the hub of the school. It's the heart of the school. It's the place where everybody, 9 through 12, it doesn't matter, what your success rates or your GPA or any of the rest of it is, everybody is welcome and ends up moving through the library. And it's one of the only spaces on campus, maybe the only, that can be said of. The library brings the entire school community together. And to close down the library, to shut it down, to add more onto our librarians' already ridiculously full plate is harmful to the quality of our education, the quality of the people that we're putting out into the world. Like, we really need to sit back and think about what taking away from the library, what it really takes away from. So don't forget that space where you fell in love with learning, because there are kids right now who are doing exactly the same thing, and don't take that from them. Thank you.
Jessica Davis.
Superintendent Aguirre, distinguished board members, teachers, parents, and community members. Good evening. My name is Jessica Davis, and I'm speaking to you tonight not on behalf of my fellow English teachers, though what I'm about to talk about directly affects them. I'm speaking to you in support of our district's teacher librarians. Perhaps even more importantly, I'm coming to you on behalf of our most precious and vulnerable resource, our students. Like most adults, I fully understand and appreciate the need for budgets. Having worked in the business world for over 25 years before becoming a teacher, I fully appreciate the demands of servicing the needs of so many different stakeholders. However, I do want to clear up something that I have often heard members of our administration say when discussing budgetary issues, because I have professional experience in this area. As a governmental entity, the majority of our budget should be labor cost. It is not unusual or nefarious for between 85 to 90+% of our budget to be dedicated to that. We are not a for-profit business. Let me reassure you, though, that I have no interest in focusing my remarks on numbers. I know that tactic, and I also know that it makes people's eyes glaze over, and they are lost as an audience. No, tonight I want to share a personal story about the importance of our libraries, most specifically the one at Sweetwater. On the 27th of last month, I had the honor of escorting our Sweetwater BSU students on a field trip to the District Rise Conference. Thank you for that amazing event. It gets better and better every year. Tangential to that, I also moved on the weekend of the 24th, and as you might imagine, I had a lot on my plate that week. Because I hate to be late, I was extra early to school on that day to prepare for the trip. After I did so, I went in search of a calm spot to wait for my kiddos to arrive. I chose the library, and I did so because our amazing librarian, Michael Garcia, has created an amazing place. Plus, as a dear friend, I knew he would just let me hang out in peace for a few minutes. While sitting there, I looked around at all of the improvements he's made to that space. The reorganization of the stacks by genre, the comfortable, flexible seating areas, the displays of new and or interesting books, the Black History Month display, to name a few. I also watched as kids came in, checked in, went to sit with friends, study quietly, work on computers, etc. After taking all of this in, I was struck with how very important Mr. Garcia and his library are to so many people, not just myself. I truly believe that we are at a critical point in our society, not just our district. Our kids have lost the ability to think critically or sustain almost any intellectual task that requires more than 140 characters or 90 seconds of attention. We fight this by trying to engage them in the magic of reading. Libraries are essential to that endeavor, and even schools, every school in our district deserves an amazing library. Thank you.
Gina Vatuoni.
Good evening, Dr. Aguirre and Sweetwater trustees. I'm Gina Vatuoni, the proud teacher librarian at Mar Vista Academy. I'm here tonight to speak about the critical role that librarians play in school communities. You wouldn't shop at a grocery store that was only open 3 days a week. You wouldn't buy a car that only worked half the time. Dependability matters in every relationship. Reliability isn't about occasional usefulness, it's about predictability. When something is only sometimes available, people stop planning around it and eventually stop using it. A school library works the same way. When librarians are part-time and the library is closed half the time, trust erodes quietly but deeply. Teachers stop designing lessons that depend on it. Students stop seeing it as a cornerstone of learning. A closed library sends a clear message about priorities, that access to information, literacy support, and safe learning spaces are optional rather than essential. Over time, that message reshapes school culture. Let me tell you a little about Mar Vista Academy's school culture and the role libraries play. Since January 12th, 53 class novels and 135 free reading books have been checked out. Doesn't sound like much, but that means 25% of our school population is choosing to read for pleasure. Every single day this semester, between 41 and 78 students, about 12% of our entire school, are in the library during lunch. I've distributed semester 2 workbooks to all ELA classes. I've hosted 11 class visits, including 4 presentations on public libraries and the Libby app. 8th graders in Ms. Mohammed's science class presented projects to staff, judges, and peers in the library. Every Tuesday during 4th period, we welcome our moderate to severe special education class. During National News Literacy Week, I set up bilingual stations to help students learn how to tell real images from AI-generated ones. I also shared a free newsletters with families, Scroll Smarter, which covers issues such as social media, viral rumors, and artificial intelligence. It's not an exaggeration to describe the MVA library as the heart of our school community. And some of that work can't be captured by numbers. This week alone, I've handed out Band-Aids, tissues, scissors, glue sticks, answered when the next Artemis II moon mission will launch, supported staff with the new Outlook login, located a contraband hamster, assisted a parent with Jupiter grades, equipped new students with books and iPads, and counseled a student with a broken heart. Libraries serve as places of enrichment. In the coming months, the MVA Library will host a Black History Month art event, a UNO tournament, a literary escape room, a living library where students can check out and have conversations with human books. But just as important as the programs is the trust. Librarians know their communities. I know the parent who is the sole caretaker of a mother with dementia. I know the mom with a sweet tooth who reads true crime with her daughter. I know the dad who calls to ensure his student attends tutoring. I know the mom whose paycheck hasn't cleared and needed Wi-Fi to pay her bills. Just as the title trustee reflects a responsibility to earn and maintain trust, librarians do that work every day through consistent presence, access, and care. Simply put, being a school librarian is a full-time job. Thank you.
Camille Gonzalez.
Good evening, Dr. Aguirre, President Solis, and members of the board. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Camille Gonzalez. I'm the librarian at Eastlake Middle School. I'm a graduate of the district, and I've been a librarian in Sweetwater for 23 years. I recently came across, in light of the decision to reduce credentialed librarian services to 60%, I'm here to advocate for full-time credentialed librarians in all of our schools. I recently came across a quote from the Roman poet and philosopher Lucretius, which says, "Life is a long struggle in the dark. The future is ambiguous, the past can become obscured, and good things never come easy." What I admire about this quote is that it's not meant to be defeatist or bitter towards life, but to point out that life is difficult, so we have to look for the light to illuminate us. Many of our students come from disadvantaged communities and are facing tremendous obstacles. Communities and immigrant families are living in fear of being deported and torn apart. Wages are not keeping up with rising living costs, leaving families struggling to make ends meet, and even facing homelessness. Our students are caught in the crosshairs with a tremendous responsibility to make their lives and the lives of their families better. The light that we find in this darkness can be lots of different things to different people. Education and opportunity are some such light that make a lasting impact on humanity for the better. A quality education is made up of many different facets, with literacy and access to resources being critical to student success and opportunity for a higher education. Library staff with credentialed librarians provide research instruction, up-to-date and relevant library collection, literacy resources, and safe spaces for all students. Credentialed librarians work directly with students daily and can have a tremendous positive impact on their lives, providing additional support outside of the classroom. Librarians and librarians should be accessible to students all day, not just part-time, so that we can be the resource our students and communities need and deserve. Our students are resilient, strong in spirit, and our hope for the future. If you invest in full-time credentialed librarians, we'll return on the investment in the services we provide to Sweetwater students. Librarians share the district's goals for the achievement and prosperity of our students. Thank you.
No further speakers.
Thank you. Clerk of the Board, will you please read the items being pulled from the consent agenda?
Yes, I have one change to read out on board item 04. There are 6 ID numbers that are being added to the backup resolution. This affects the fiscal impact, which will be updated to read a total of 156.1767 FTEs with 176 people affected. Those changes will be made upon approval. The following items are pulled: F3 by staff, F6 by staff, and G3 by staff and the public.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second?
Second.
Flores?
Yes.
Arencibia?
Yes.
Emerald? Lopez?
Yes.
Lopez Zepeda?
Yes.
Solis?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Sorry about that. All right. F3? Any comments?
I just wanted to say, give a couple of comments. The first of which is I wanted to talk about the RISE conference, and I work at a college, right? And I visit, different festivals and kind of recruitment practices for our Black student unions and African American students. I want to be straight up with you. What we're doing at Miramar is hands down one of the best ones in the county, if not the state. It was just amazing to see 500 students literally fill up the Performing Arts building over at Southwestern. And it was just really amazing to me. I mean, because I see at my school district, we try to have that number and we can't reach it. And so it's just want to give props to Dr. Moore. I want to give props to the elders, including Trustee Dumas, because has been a cog, an important cog in actually creating that that kind of collaboration between the two schools. And the other part too, I want us to be able to remember the best of us in this moment. It's very hard on me personally to be able to look at the news sometimes, just to see what's there, what people are saying, and to see what's happening to our kids. And I think we would all benefit from giving each other a lot of grace, and to kind of remember to have joy. I think the thing about yesterday's performance, halftime performance, if I could say one thing, Bad Bunny does do one really, really important thing. He reminds us that even in the course of all these attacks and all on our person, our language, our experiences, and our backgrounds, our color, we have to remember, what we've learned from the African American elders is that we have to learn how to sing. We have to remember how to actually teach each other in that singing and how to take joy in that, because otherwise, I think a certain part of us ends up breaking down, and a certain part of us ends up wounded, and that wound, it doesn't heal. So, teachers, I know you're going through it all like I am, because I'm going through it in my classroom. But I implore you to remember and to remind our students to continue to sing, like we did in the RISE conference. It doesn't matter what ethnicity it is. It was actually really, really beautiful to see Euro-American white kids showing up there, or seeing Latino kids showing up there in support as allies, right? And I think that's an important lesson for us to kind of see, is that we need to be there for each other and remember to remind each other to sing, to dance, and to remember our humanity in this time period of inhumanity. And I just want to give you all props, because I know it's hard, right? It's hard. And it doesn't matter what aisle of the political spectrum you're at, it's hard. But we have to be here for each other. We have to be here for our kids, especially our kids who don't have any other place to go. And I'll leave that at that. Thank you again.
Thank you, Dr. Arencibia. Lopez Zepeda?
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. First of all, I'd like to say that I appreciate and thank all the librarians and their colleagues who came in and shared comments for support for full-time librarian. Thank you for doing that. I know it's late at the end of the day. I also attended the RISE conference at Southwestern College. a great thank you to the BSU elders. They did a wonderful job. It was beautiful to see that auditorium full, over 500 students. It was beautiful. I also attended the Viva Resource Center. That is going to be a great place. Too bad it's not bigger. Lots of opportunities for relaxation and exercise that are free for us. I also attended the District Counselor's Professional Development Day at the beginning. And the most nerve-wracking and emotional event that I participated was the Hilltop Middle School Spelling Bee that was run by Miss Erin Southam, which is the librarian at Hilltop. It was really stressful, especially towards the end. Again, there are so many wonderful things that are happening throughout the district, and I feel very privileged to be able to visit and attend and see all of the wonderful things our students are doing because of the hard work that our teachers do, our librarians do, our counselors do, the administrators. It's everybody, not just one person or one group. It's all of us working together. With that, I succeed.
Thank you, Ms. Lopez-Peda. Any other comments?
Yes.
Oh, go ahead, Ms. Emerald.
I'm sitting here reflecting on all the speakers who came speaking about the libraries and the importance of libraries, especially for young people who are just beginning to learn what a book is, and a quiet space where they can learn and be entertained. I was slightly dyslexic coming up. I would mix my words up, and I was left-handed, and they tried to make me right-handed, whatever the science is. But I didn't really read well in school. But after school, I'd get on my little bicycle and ride over to the community library. And there, I could explore every aisle and pick up books that I didn't understand, but it was so much fun to just sit and open books and learn to read on my own without feeling the stress of people tittering about my, stumbling on words or not knowing how to pronounce things. And I know that made a difference for me. Always a slow reader, but hey, in broadcasting was okay. I had to speak slowly. But it made a huge difference for me. And the people around me created a safe space. And then at the end of the day, I'd take my little card, I'd check out a book and ride my bicycle back home. And I always had something new and different to read. And it inspired me to do better in school. So I understand from the earliest age how libraries have impacted me. And it hurts my heart that so many of you work so diligently to help kids appreciate a book or learn how to operate a computer. And as a trustee, I'm going to work harder at helping us get more resources for our libraries. We really do need them, and especially for kids who feel a little disenfranchised, like they don't belong, they don't have a club or a clique. They can always find peace and something to celebrate in a library and in a book. So thank you for your hard work. And I promise I will be here to help lobby on your behalf. I don't know how the superintendent's going to feel about it, listening to me, but I think it's really important that we gear up and make sure our libraries are doing as much good for everybody as all of our hardworking teachers and other employees here in the district. Let's make them shine. That's what I say. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Emerald. Any other comments? Okay, we'll move on to F6. So elect up to 9 candidates as representatives to the California School Board Association Delegate Assembly for Region 17. Superintendent?
Thank you, President Solis. So this item pertains to the school board's prerogative regarding the election of Representatives to California School Boards Association. I'll ask Ms. Vicedo to provide any additional context. Ms. Vicedo.
There's recommended people that completed the nomination process named on here. You can nominate any of those, or you can write in candidates as you desire.
What's the pleasure of the board? Ms. Lopez-Peda?
We would need to write in a couple candidates that for some reason did not get on the ballot. I would like to nominate Trustee Rudy Lopez, who is not on the ballot, who should have been on the ballot. I would also like to nominate Ms. Maria Castañeda Betancourt. And he's already on there. Okay. That's all I can come up with on the top of my head.
Second that motion.
So those two,
Those two plus, yes, thank
Yeah,
you,
plus-
Mr.
plus the
Solis.
board
The
that are on.
5 names listed on here plus
Yes.
the 2 write-ins.
okay.
Yes.
Is that
Please.
your motion?
Yes.
Yes.
We
Thank
have a
you.
motion and a second.
Thank you. Flores?
Yes.
Arencibia? Emerald? Yes. Lopez?
Yes.
Lopez Cepeda?
Yes.
Solis?
Yes,
Motion passes 5-0.
thank you. Okay, moving on to G3. Superintendent?
Thank you, President Solis. On this item, this is an update regarding the mid-year update regarding the local control and accountability plan. For this item, I will ask Dr. Alvarez to make the presentation. Dr. Alvarez.
Good evening, Dr. Aguirre, Mr. Lopez, board members, community. Thank you for being here. Before I start, it says about 50 pages. Believe me, I will not spend more than 25 minutes going over this, and hopefully a little bit less. I said 15 and then questions. Because people see the report and then they're like, oh my gosh, this is just way too long. 5 minutes could do it too. So each year we have to do an LCAP update. And it'd be good if I could change. Is it not working? Maybe that would help. Thank you. User error. Still not working? There we go. So in 2023, there was a law, Senate Bill 114, that provided for districts to give an update, a mid-year update on the LCAP. For us, so that we know kind of time frame in terms of what data is incorporated into our mid-year update, is that we use for the budget, we use the first interim. So Dr. Salkid's team works very closely with the state and federal team, with teaching and learning, to make sure that those are aligned. We also have data from the dashboard, because during the first interim, which ends in October, that is the data that's available. So it's the dashboard data. For this presentation, you'll see a combination of dashboard data, but you'll also see some semester data, because I want to make sure that the board is apprised of where we are right now at a point in time. As a reminder, the LCAP is a 3-year plan. This is the second year of that plan, and then the second year where we're doing that mid-year update. So we'll talk about those. So you'll see expenditures, you see where we are. As you see action items for each of the goals, it will say if it's an ongoing action item, if it's implemented, if it's been fully implemented, where we are in that process at this point in time. So our LCAP goal primarily has 4 main goals. These goals we've had since 2014, when the LCAP was implemented across the state. LCAP Goal 1 is teaching and learning. It's about providing students instruction. LCAP Goal 2 is the environment, both physical and conditional environment for our students, so that we can support them for success. Goal 3 is that community involvement, parent engagement of how we're connecting with our partners to ensure student success. And the Goal 4 is really kind of that foundational piece of looking at all of our systems and structures to ensure that those 3 goals are met. There were goals added by the state recently in the last 2 years. One you'll see is Goal 5, which is the equity multiplier. And we have 2 schools that receive funds, and I'll go a little bit into that towards the end of the slides. And then the last one that was added last year, which is Goal 6, is any funds from the Learning Recovery Block Grant that had not been expended as of last year, we had to put into a goal. We had the option of intermixing those within goals 1 through 4 or doing it discretely, we thought it would be much easier to track in a discrete goal. So you'll see that as well. This just kind of gives you an overview of what our budget expenditures are based on general fund and what is included in the LCAP. LCAP, in terms of supplemental and concentration grant monies with carryover last year, were about $72 million. But we have other actions and services, such as basic services, that are included in the LCAP. And that's important because there was a question brought up about counselor and counselor ratio, and I'll talk a little bit about that so that that's highlighted. This is our demographics of where our students are and our percentage of students within each of the demographic groups. At noted, we have about 21% of our students are English learners. Very low population of foster youth. Our homeless student population has grown somewhat, and then about 58% of our students are socioeconomically disadvantaged, and then about a little bit over 15% students with disabilities. And then the different race and ethnicities are represented across the district. These metrics are the metrics that we continue to use. The reason it says 2024-25 is that, remember, that was the first year of a 3-year process. So that's the first year that we established our baseline data, our baseline metrics, and then we continue to build off of that for the next last year, this year, and the following year. As I mentioned, we're looking at some of the dashboard data that was available, and so we'll look at that. Red, as you know, lowest performance, blue, highest performance. Sometimes there's status and change, whether there's been growth or not, the difference between last year and the previous year. This is kind of a snapshot of our overall district dashboard. Dr. Winters provided this data in a dashboard presentation earlier this year, so I'm just going to highlight it. We still continue to work on our chronic absenteeism. That is an area where we are in differentiated assistance because 2 of our groups are in the red in that area, and so we continue to work on that. Suspension rates, where we had been in the red before or had been in differentiated assistance, we've now gone to a green level. Our English learner progress has stayed pretty static. Our graduation rate has increased, but as a reminder, we did have the California grad plan for quite a bit of time. We are transitioning to the Sweetwater grad plan this year, and so we expect that there may be a drop in our graduation rates, but we're doing at school sites and throughout the district a lot of targeted work in trying to support our students so that they meet the academic grad plan that's more rigorous. College and career is based on students that complete college and career courses such as CTE, and so that is in the green. As our English language arts and mathematics are both in the yellow, and then we have some metrics that are site or local metrics, and that includes our materials, our teachers, our implementation of standards, our parent and family engagement, and then our climate surveys, and then the broad course of study. So when we bring you new courses, or we bring courses that are articulated with the community college or our CCAP courses, that also is inclusive of that broad course of study. This is just that dashboard kind of highlighted across all of our student groups. As I mentioned, chronic absenteeism is one of those areas that is impacting almost every single student group that we have had. Since the pandemic, post-pandemic, that has been an area that we continually try to support our school sites. And so one of our actions items that we do have is attendance coordinators to help with that at school sites as well. So our goal 1, as we mentioned, was really kind of that excellence in teaching and learning. The question that was brought up earlier in the comments was about the ratio of counselors of 400 to 1. So this is the basic program. All of our LCAP, when we look at whether it's goal 1, 2, 3, or 4, or even 5 and 6, if it's a 0.1 of those are all the basic programs. So those are things that we offer at base. Anything after that is going to be that supplemental supports that we're augmenting funding for school sites based on that. So for this instance, we staff at a basic rate for our teachers at 30-1 out of general fund. With the LCAP, you'll see that we reduce that in some cases 28-1, for our English learners 25-1, and with bilingual classes 28-1. The same thing occurs with counselors. So in 1.4 of the LCAP, it has an item where it lowers the ratio from 400 to 360-1. So just a clarification. Sometimes it gets lost in, and I was not as explicit as I could have been in the PowerPoint. So just want to make sure that that's noted. Other things that we do in terms of ensuring additional, as I mentioned, we lowered class size. We offer additional supplemental for our bilingual courses. We have our TOSAs, our teachers on special assignment, our PD, our professional development, our pathways, and then we support school leadership teams. Additional, we have our site interventions, our summer school. A large amount of the funding for summer school comes out of the LCAP, as well as library and media centers and the supports for the librarians throughout the school district. We also support our after-school programs, and then our testing, tutoring, interventions, those types of supports. As mentioned, counselor guidance support is one of the elements that's included in this goal 1. And then all those elements with the advanced placement, IB, PSAT for our 11th graders, where we pay for them to take that. Continued, these are all pretty much the same thing, except for there are some departments that are supported through the LCAP. And so those are included in there. And the one that I want to highlight, which is new, it's an addition, as we look at continuing to retain our high-quality teachers and staff across the district, support for the salary increases, and retaining fully credentialed staff maintains it's one of our high-level priorities, and so those were added to the LCAP as one of the elements. So what are some of the metrics and data that we utilize for the LCAP? As I mentioned, we use some dashboard data, which is earlier data, but we also have some of our semester data. And so we're looking at comparison of middle school Ds and Fs. Dr. Winters shared this data previously, but I just wanted to highlight, once again, our overall D and F rate has gone down, nominally, but it's gone down. And, you know, success in a course at middle school then leads to success in courses at the high school, which then predict GPA as one of the biggest predictors for academic success. So we want to just make sure that that's something that's continually being dropped so that we have less Ds and Fs across the board. This is the high school data. The high school data, there is much more of a significant drop between last year and this year. So last year overall was 16%. This year it's at 9.8%. And once again, if we have students that are able to graduate, that is a long-term predictor for success. Some of the data that we've looked for site interventions of what they've done, there's the after-school programs, there's the before programs, there's Hey Tutoring. We've invested quite a bit in Hey Tutoring. Some of the metrics that include that are the number of students that they've served. We have them at all the school sites, the comprehensive school sites, and also Alta Vista, East Hills Academy, Palomar, and the alternative sites. And we've added, through additional funding, through title monies, supports there as well. This is the mid-year data that we have for seniors on track for graduation. So over 72% of our students are on track. We have about 27% that are missing at least one or more courses. And so that data has been given to our principals to work with at their sites with their teams to look at what those needs are at the school sites, whether students may need to be transferred to an alternative program, or if credit recovery is something that's necessary in order for students to meet that on track for graduation. And that's for the 44 credit SUHSD graduation plan. This is just kind of gives you an overview by site, the same thing, and the number and percentages of students that need some additional support. Oops. The career and college indicator, we're in the green. It talks about each of the student groups and where we are. We don't have any students that are in the red, which is great. Unfortunately, some of our students with disabilities are in the orange. Everyone else has either stayed status quo or increased. And then one of the ones that, you know, in this district, especially in a border community, we continue to try to develop is the biliteracy, the seal of biliteracy. As you see, there has been a decrease. Part of that is because the requirements have become more stringent over the last 5 years. So before, the requirements didn't require a particular GPA, may not have required a certain level on the SBAC. Now those requirements are there, so they're a little bit more stringent. So we're wanting to make sure that our students are able to pass the SBAC at a particular level, and then the GPA requirements to make sure that they're able to pass the seal of biliteracy. We've seen this data before. Once again, our AP exams over the last 5 years, and actually, if we look at over the last 11 years, we have continually grown. In the past, we had about 53% passage rate. We're now at 67% passage rate. So many more students taking exams, many more students passing, and we've continued to grow AP exams that students take. So we added AP African American Studies, we've added AP Seminar. There have been courses across the district that have been offered, and so more and more students are taking those opportunities. Once again, AP is one of those indicators. If a student passes an AP exam with a 2 or better, it really is kind of a strong predictor for college success once again. And it's not just college success, it's making sure that they're successful for whatever transition they want to do post-high school. So we want them to be prepared for both career, college, but it's their choice and not a choice that's made for them. So this is where I was telling you that as part of the expenditures, we have to look at where we are with each of the action steps. As a reminder, Goal 1 has 33 action steps, so I'm not going to go through each one, but it gives you an idea of where we are. Once again, I just want to point to 1.4. That's where that counselor reduction is from 400 to 360 to 1. It also allocates for those sites that have smaller have an allocation that supports smaller school sites, such as Palomar, their caseload. We also have the district teachers on special assignment, the lower class size for teachers, the staffing ratios. Just continued with some of our actions and services that we have here. I'll just continue those because summer school, as you see, summer school, right now, there's only 63,000. Remember, summer school doesn't start till June, although I'm sure it'll be here very faster than we think. But we have 6.25 allocated. All of our schools will have summer school at the middle school, and then we have our 6 sites that we'll host across the district for the high schools. Okay, so that was LCAP Goal 1. LCAP Goal 2, once again, remember, it's that safe and healthy learning environment. So you're going to see a lot of those systems of supports for our students here. Once again, this is the district-based program. That's 1.1. That's what the district uses general fund to support. And then here's some of the supplemental and systematic supports that we've added. We've added supports for the after-school programs, our attendance coordinators, our MTSS supports at school sites, some of our PD, our libraries, some of additional counseling supports, mental health staff, and then our support for our foster youth and homeless. We've also included our resource officers here, school resource officers, psychologists. We had increased the number of campus assistants, and then ASB advisors, nurses, and then some additional supports for custodial in terms of after school. Once again, just looking at both the physical and emotional supports for our students. With this one, we're looking at the chronic absenteeism. It's one of the ties. If students are feeling safe and welcome, they'll be at school. And so that's one of the areas that we continue to look at. We have an 18.6 chronically absent rate, and so the idea is that we look at this year to try to lower that so that we continue to ensure and offer that our students are in school. And this is the absenteeism rate. This is middle school. Once again, at a point in time now, we do see, compared to last year, a decrease. So 19% last year at this time, we're now at 13%. As you notice, our foster homeless youth certainly are faced with some issues that make it difficult sometimes for them to attend school. We have a department surrounding support for our students. We continue to apply that. Our English learners as well have dropped in terms of their chronic absenteeism, as well as our students with disabilities. So we see a good solid trend coming for next year for our middle school. And the middle school is the one that is attributed in the dashboard. They don't count the data for our high schools. It's kind of the same thing, just an overview of where we are with suspension rates. Our suspension rates were a differentiated assistance area for us a few years ago. We did some very targeted support with that, and we are now in the green. And so we have declined 1.4%, which has been very helpful and supportive. And then this is our suspension rates overall, decrease mid-year. The foster youth are certainly an area that we are looking at to make sure that, one student could change the percentage because it's such a small group. And so continued eyes and support there. And then once again, these are the actions and the expenditures of where we are so far. Some of these, so for the first one, for example, district-based program, that's once again with general fund. You won't see the full implementation till the end of the budget cycle because that's when the funds are transferred over. It's not that we're doing it, it's just the timing of when the funds are moved over to those areas. We'll go there. Once again, just some of the areas for us: crisis response, homeless foster outreach and support, facilities. As a reminder, we did have a huge incline in support for our camera installations at school sites. And so you'll see that there's $8 million attributed to that. That project with Ms. Quirk and her team, they've been working on that over the last 2 years to ensure that safety and security at school sites as well. And then goal 3 is the parent, community, guardian, community engagement and supports, and really kind of that fostering that welcoming environment for our schools, making sure that we have, whether it's our parent centers or our CRFs, our community relations facilitators, helping at the school sites to welcome our staff and our students and our parents in particular. These are some of the supports that we have with the counselors, the community relations facilitators, parent training that we provide. And then here are some of the metrics in terms of participation. We used to use our social media engagement, but I think with our new platform, that's a little bit harder to monitor. Doesn't give us nearly that data, but we are finding other ways to monitor engagement other than just being present at a meeting. So we continue to look at how we develop that. And then once again, here's the funding and supports for that. And then LCAP Goal 1, as I said, kind of that base program where it brings in all those systems that help Goals 1, 2, and 3 function very smoothly. And it's all about our facilities teams, our fiscal services, human resources, legal services, ensuring that we're all working together and connected to support our systems. And here it's just trying to make sure our IT is streamlined, our business platforms are streamlined. For a long time, Infor was one of the huge platforms that we were implementing to ensure that all systems were talking to each other. And we also help support ongoing professional development for our teams through this. And here's some of those expenditures of where we are. Once again, a lot of these are not done till the end of the year, so you won't see them until we close out the LCAP in June. So I mentioned that we had to add goal 5 and we had to add goal 6. So goal 5 is the equity multiplier for Alta Vista Academy and Palomar. Their goals were specific to student graduation and decreasing absenteeism for Alta Vista. And then Palomar, also the same thing, focusing on students with disabilities, homeless, and foster youth. And so they have a plan that they developed with their teams. They continue to focus on that plan. They get additional funding based on their population of students. Here are some of the additional items that they added. They added more math support, more language supports. We offered a baseline for Hey Tutor. They added additional tutors to the school site at Mar Vista, and then they continued to analyze their data to see how that's impacting student outcomes. And Alta Vista was going to hire an attendance coordinator, a literacy support teacher, and then an MTSS teacher to help support. And here are some of their measures. Once again, as you notice, expenditures aren't fully implemented and won't be till the end of the year. And then the last one was the Learning Recovery Block Grant. We put a lot of funding in there to look at professional learning communities, credit recovery, the visual and performing arts to support our students based on their academic needs, and also providing targeted interventions for them. And then here are some of the funding sources and where we are. Okay. So that is the LCAP mid-year review. We'll bring another review for you in June. So you can see the review plus the new LCAP for the following year.
Thank you. Any public comment?
Yes, we have one speaker, Kathleen Cheers.
Myself on knowing quite a bit about Sweetwater. I spent 2 days on that report, and after listening to Ms. Alvarez, it's clear I don't know. I'm not going to say what some people know I would say. So I'm just going to kind of do this. In reviewing all the financial info included in the report, I question what happens to the monies not used. It just shows when someone like me looks at it, if you look at the numbers, there's a lot of disparity. We only have 4 months left to go. So I will be paying close attention, Ms. Alvarez. And you do excellent reports, by the way. To piggyback on Trustee Aaron Sibia's comment, as a privileged white woman, please remember, not all old white persons support ICE or our current administration and are extremely frustrated that all we have is empathy and voices to fight the bigotry. I had a conversation with Maddie Adato today, and I told her, Maddie, start putting aside money. And she said, for what? I said, because I'm going to need it when I end up in the federal prison for my monthly package if things continue to deteriorate the way they are. I'm 76. What else do I have to lose? I went over to my daughter's house last weekend, and there is a taco truck down the street. Best tacos in the world. So I went down there to get some. As I walked up, well, I was the only gringo in the whole place, right? I immediately felt, you know how we are. We're adults. We get that feeling. I felt it. And so I walked up. I couldn't read the menu because unfortunately, I only learned Hola Paco que tal when I went to Spanish and didn't learn anything. So I went up and I was standing next to this gentleman about 40 years old. I said, "Excuse me, sir, could you interpret that for me? You know, what I'm looking for are fish tacos." And so he told me the number. And so I said, "Thank you very much." And it was amazing how him just having that little bit of dialogue with me, everything changed. I'm 76. It was the first time in my life that I personally felt what many in this room and what many of our students have felt. And thank you, Trustee Sylvia, for making comments like that for all to hear. Because I saw some of I know you find this hard to believe, but I do Facebook, and I do comment occasionally. And I saw some of the comments, and I was repulsed. Thank you very much.
No further
Thank you.
speakers.
Thank you. Any comments from our board?
I actually have questions.
Questions?
Dr. Alvarez, going to page 20, where we see the mid-year data for seniors on track for graduation. Some of those numbers are really, really scary of the kids that are not on track. What are the plans that are on each of one of these sites to assure that that number shrinks? I'm looking at San Isidro, Sweetwater, Mar Vista, Chula Vista. Those numbers are really high for those seniors, more than a third of them not being prepared for graduation. Well, then that would be Castle Park as well. That, to me, is unacceptable. Are there plans in place?
So there are plans in place, and the data that we've given to each site, in our data insights, it actually has for each student what courses they are off track, what courses they need to complete. That data has been shared with the principals. The direction that we have given to the principals is to create site plans. Now, this is not new to our counselors, to our site administrators. As we enroll students for the upcoming year, that evaluation of the transcript is something that we continually do. So counselors are sending students to credit recovery. There will be some opportunities of intercession. School sites have the graduation coach at each site for Apex. And so there's the ability, if a student is off track, 1 or 2 credits to be able to do that. Some of the students that may be off track more than 1 or 2 credits, there may be some options of going to either Palomar, which has a different graduation plan. Some can also attend Launch Virtual Academy, and some of the options that we have in order to do that. Independent study is also a potential option that students can take.
Yeah, because, I mean, 45% of the seniors at San Isidro are not ready or will not be ready to graduate. That is a huge number.
And San Isidro actually has 2 graduation coaches, so they have 2 Apex teachers that are full-time to provide support for them.
Okay. So that was one of my concerns. I still have more questions.
Sure.
Okay. For goal 5, where we are talking about Palomar and AVA, their attendance has to improve 10%. We have data for the middle schools, but not Palomar. Or is there any way that we can collect data to see where they are right now?
We do. We have data for each of our, even, so the only reason that I included only the middle school data is that data is the data that's collected on the dashboard for us. So it doesn't account against us in the dashboard. But for these schools and for all high schools, we have our own internal data system with data insight where school sites can see exactly where they are. And so I can put that in a board update report for you.
Okay,
so
that
you
would
have
be
that
great.
data.
Because I'm like, okay, we're gonna improve 10%, but where are we improving from? And where are we now? Okay, so that was just it.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Lopez-Peda. Superintendent?
Thank you, President Solis. I just wanted to chime in that definitely going to continue to have a deeper conversation because time is of the essence. It's already February, and we're very cognizant that this is only going to get harder, not easier. These are the schools that you mentioned also happen to be the ones that probably are under the greatest level of duress from what's going on from the federal government perspective. And so we will be having those conversations about bringing additional resources to bear to make sure we're supporting kids in these communities. Thank you. I did about the question that was asked about the funding. So if you can briefly state kind of the fact that this is a check-in in the middle of the year, and so it's kind of a status check, but then what happens with carryover or whatnot. So if you can kind of just add a little bit about that.
That's a great question. So up until 2 years ago, Dr. Salka, I think it was 2 years ago, the carryover fell to the bottom line of general fund. So per state code, if we had $20 million that was left over, it would just go to the general fund and it could be allocated and used however we so chose to do so. 2 years ago, that changed. And so we actually, within the LCAP, the one that we bring to board 2 times in June, the LCAP carryover is identified specifically of what actions and services it's going to be attributed to for each of those. So it's not any longer just going to the general fund, bottom line. Now it goes specific to actions and services so that we continue those metrics and those supports for students.
Thank you, Dr. Alvarez, for that. No further questions, comments? All right, with that, this meeting's adjourned. Thank you.